Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Echoes. I'm 3-Bit, and we're gonna have a pretty good show tonight. So everyone who's about to jump in, who watches later, and things like that, welcome, and thanks to everyone for checking out our shows each and every Sunday. It means a lot. We got a pretty fun show planned for today, and we reached 2 milestones. So we got 400 subs, like woo! So I appreciate everybody. Do a little audience clap noise for you guys. So yeah, we reached 400 subs. So thanks to everybody for getting us here. And then we also are now on episode 25. So pretty, in my brain, that's a pretty big milestone. We're halfway to 50, right? We're almost there to 50. And I think how we're gonna do it, like 50. I was just talking to Fuzzy about this behind the scenes. I think episode 50 will be like season 2 of this show. So that means like I start to refresh like the intro. Maybe me and Fuzzy are in a spaceship next time and we're defeating people or something like that. I'll refresh the intro and do some cool little thing each time. Maybe cool transitions in between the show. Who knows? If you guys have any ideas on what you would like me and Fuzzy to be battling against, feel free to let us know in the comments. So yeah, if you guys haven't already checked it out, myself, Fuzzy, Pong, and Mav were all on PTK Blam's show yesterday. We're kind of going over some of the stuff we'll be going over today. So definitely go check that show out. We went into this whole spiral of like handheld consoles and where that could go, and I was like really just thinking about that episode. Really cool. A really cool episode, so definitely go check that out. Support PTK. He's an awesome dude, and I always appreciate him inviting me. And he's one of the OGs, as I like to say, in the community. So go check that out. So before we jump into the topics, as always, want to see what you've been up to, brother. I have finally completed the Starfield DLC as of today, actually. However, in usual Starfield fashion, there's still a ton of missions and quests left to do, so I'm looking forward to doing a ton of those. I'm starting to get an itch also to trying to replay the Yakuza games. Ooh. So that might be what I tackle next. I've been kind of going down the line. I'm actually kind of proud of myself. I've been going down the line and trying to beat all these different games. From like RoboCop, like I had RoboCop on my list, finally beat that. Starfield on my list, I beat that, and now the DLC, and Yakuza was on that list as well. So I feel like that might be the one I tackle next. We'll see. But
nice.
Without further ado, the man who can outrace them all, the living, breathing Felix the Cat, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host, the Fuzzy Belvedere. How you doing today, brother? What have you been playing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you tonight. And man, it's been pretty fun in gaming. Just been playing a lot of different things. Decided to go through my backlog from Game Pass. Hopped into Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, which is kind of a cool roguelike kind of game, just to kind of get some gamer score out of that and just play around with a roguelike. Like I'm waiting for Hades 2 to come to console. I know I can buy it over at Steam, but really waiting for that to come to console here, hopefully in the next 6 months or so. But other than that, rolled credits on Prey for, I think it's like my second or third time. But
you beat it, nice.
Yeah. And I tried doing like multiple the couple of different endings, and there's a couple of different approaches you can take to it, but had fun with that, going through the New Game Plus. And then because I'm still on that like sci-fi horror kind of kick, I even hopped into what was it, Aliens Fire Team Elite. Because I had some of the skins from like I bought the deluxe edition or something way back when it first launched, and never really opened up the skin packs or unlocked them or anything like that. So decided to hop back into that and just love the sounds and the atmosphere of that game. I mean, it's more of like Horde survival kind of stuff, but still a ton of fun, especially being a fan of Aliens after the Romulus movie came out earlier, or like in the past couple of months and stuff. But man, just playing a lot of my usual go tos. Still playing Forza Horizon 5. I'm well into 800 plus cars now. They got a whole new group of cars for this month. They're focusing on Porsche this go around. Pretty cool, sporty cars that also are easy enough to put on a racetrack by just putting a number on them. Don't have to do much to them, kind of stuff. But having fun with that, and man, just watching the news on Twitter with some upcoming stuff this week for some Xbox Studio games. They're going to go into some more detail, so getting excited about that. But man, just so much fun. This year's been pretty loaded, and it's not letting up at all, even with just a few weeks left. But man, ton of good times.
Yeah, and Froggy, he messages 800 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's awesome though. Like you're liking the NASA playthrough so far. Like what is in the NASA? I haven't only seen the trailer of it, where it's like kind of the cars racing around the track. Like is it like a whole new mode? Like do they change like the laps and stuff like that? Like what's in the NASCAR DLC?
Oh, for the NASCAR DLC with motorsport and everything, that's basically they just wrapped up the season today. So if you're a NASCAR fan, shout out to Sliced Bread. Well, I'll call him that, but it's Joey Logano. Not my favorite driver, but for all intents and purposes, he's the NASCAR champ this year. Was rooting more so for William Byron or even Blaney doing a back-to-back type of thing. But if you're into NASCAR, they give you the three main chassis: the Ford Mustang, Dark Horse, the Camaro. I believe they're still using like a ZL1 nose and everything for that, even though they discontinued the Camaro in real life, but they're using that for NASCAR. And then Toyota's using the Camry, which I still feel is kind of weird. I wish they would use the Supra compared to the other two cars, but the Camry is probably like the best of all worlds as far as balance and whatnot, as far as what the NASCAR rules allow. But you get those three chassis. They don't have any of the official paint schemes, so we're going to have to rely on the painting community to hopefully come up with some NASCAR liveries and stuff like that to download. But you're using a lot of the same tracks that you would see on the NASCAR circuit, like Homestead or even what do you call it, Daytona and stuff. And you're able to just race against as many, well, I think it's like 23 cars that they allow in the game. It's 46 or no, 42 or so, or sometimes up to 43, depending on the track. Although a lot of times they usually cap out at about like 38 or so these past few years. But you're able to race against 23 plus other cars on the track. NASCAR rules, you could use bump drafting, or most people just draft, but NASCAR is famous for bump drafting. So you have to use the chrome horn to kind of push the car in front of you to get a little bit more speed out of it. But the big thing is try not to wreck people. Just try to save it for the last lap. See if you can get enough of a slingshot to do like what Ricky Bobby used to do, and the shake and bake, draft off of them and then pull out of their draft and then pass them by kind of deal. But
Mm.
Daytona is going to be, I got to get a better setup. I got to lower the car, stiffen up the right side springs, and then see if I can lower that spoiler, see if I can get more speed so we can do 200 through the corners kind of thing. But definitely, if you're a NASCAR fan, at least until iRacing does their NASCAR 25 release, which I guess is going to come later next year, this is the best place to give it a go and just either paint the car or leave it as is. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you're into the Rovals or even just the super speedways and stuff, yeah, definitely check it out.
Heck yeah, yeah. I was just curious, like, of like how much detail they're putting into the NASCAR. Like, do they change the laps? I know NASCAR has like a ton of laps and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And that's just me coming from an outside. Like, I'm not huge into NASCAR, but I
Hmm.
thought it was like really cool. Like, that's something that makes me want to jump back into Forza Motorsport. Because I played it. I actually, I mean, I enjoyed the experience I had with it. It was just so many games that came out around that time, so I
Oh yeah.
definitely definitely got to jump back into it. So we have a lot of topics to get through today, but I thought you would lead with this one. It's basically the Compulsion games and some stuff like some announcements around that. If you want to lead with that.
Oh yeah. Like I think one of the biggest things that they showed at the summer showcase, or Xbox showed at the summer showcase, was some of their first party titles that we hope to see in 2025. And Compulsion, being one of those studios that has a game ready to line up, we got to see a good bit of the traversal and things like that at the summer showcase. So see first getting a glimpse at well, it's not our first glimpse because I think we got to also see that in the developer direct, but to get a more detailed glimpse after we saw the intro of the character. I believe her name is Hazel. Um, we got to see a lot more of like the Haints and the bosses you'd fight. But now next week, or I guess it's the 12th, which is Tuesday, I believe. Um, they're going to go into more detail with like a documentary. So a post from Compulsion on X. I don't know if they're quite yet on Blue Sky just yet, but they have it where Compulsion Games, as we're eagerly awaiting our 2025 release, we invite you to take an even closer look into the making of our modern Southern Gothic folktale. Tune in on 11/12/2024 for the premiere of Weaving Hazel's Journey, a South of Midnight documentary where we explore the vision, art direction, music, gameplay, and talent behind our upcoming action adventure. Plus, getting an exclusive first look at brand new gameplay footage and interviews with the team. So if you were as excited about this game from seeing it, in the developer direct earlier this year and, from the summer showcase in June, we're going to get to see even more of it this Tuesday next week. So I can't wait to see what they unveil. Because I think the biggest thing that was kind of like a surprise was like some of the traversal as far as how she's able to like fly through the wind and follow the trails of the breeze and stuff,
Yeah.
or like do a little bit of parkour on like rooftops and things to get away from some of the bigger bosses or enemies and stuff that you'll fight. But yeah, they're going to have something for us next week or Tuesday, basically, since it's Sunday. I guess you could say later this week. And I'm looking forward to it. But what are some of the things out of what they mentioned, like the gameplay and music, that you're looking forward to in this documentary?
Well, just the fact that they said Southern Goth folk, I think
Hmm.
I don't think I've seen many of them in the gaming industry in general. I mean, there's been like um, Mafia 3, I believe, that sort of focus on New Orleans, and then they had like
Hmm.
really cool vibes with the music and just like you walk around the city. Like I really love that aesthetic.
Yeah.
So out of anything, I'm most excited to see how they tackle that aesthetic, and it just coming from Compulsion, with them just only we know them for We Happy Few.
Hmm.
And their history with We Happy Few is actually just super interesting in itself. Like they were trying to get several different publishers to do that game, and I believe it was bought out by the people who did 2K. I think helped
Yeah.
initially with the publishing, if I am remembering correctly. And then Xbox, of course, bought the rights to the studio and the games and stuff like that. But in terms of like what they were able to deliver back then, they were always kind of hinged on like, wow, they have a lot of potential, but not the budget to back it up.
Hmm.
So with We Happy Few, I mean, like the earlier trailers and stuff, We Happy Few, like, oh, I love the Bioshock type, aesthetic. It was always just like, I just felt like when the game actually came out, it had like a lot of good promise to the mechanics, to
Hmm.
the game itself. It always just was like, well, dang, they just don't have the budget to tackle it the way I think they probably should. Now they have Daddy Microsoft, so I do wonder. how they're gonna handle this one. It looks super cool from what I've seen. I actually follow a lot of the animators and on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So they post like behind the scenes sort of thing of how they did the first trailer and how
Mhm.
they tackle like the frame rate of the game. It has like sort of a Spider-Verse-y kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
I love that aesthetic. So, yeah, I'm interested. It comes out tomorrow, right? This documentary.
Uh, If not on Tuesday, Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing more of the gameplay. I know it's more so about the creation of it, but
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll get like snippets and like what their thought process is in tackling the from the like why they did the gameplay this way, why the world is this way.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I love game documentaries in general, especially like the Stalker one.
Yeah.
It makes me like the game more.
Mhm.
Same thing with like Prey. Like I loved Prey when it came out, but then I watched a documentary of that level, the introductory level, um, and it made me like the game even more. It's like it just does something to my brain where it makes me appreciate the art of
Mhm.
something because it's very easy to be like this sucks, this sucks, and it's so easy to get to that mindset. So it's always really cool when I can get outside of that mindset, like, oh, this is the artistry behind the thing I'm looking at, because we skip over really amazing things all the time in
Yeah.
like games, because games are hard to make. You're like, oh, that's a cool thing. Anyways, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, excited to definitely check it out. Was there any more details about that, or was it mostly just like, hey, it's that date?
It's mainly just the details will probably be more so what they show and stuff. But like for me, the music aspect, because of the blues, they had a bit of blues and jazz with the first trailer, and you get that sense with the music that you hear kind of in the background from the summer showcase showing. So I'm curious to see if we get like an original soundtrack in addition to what's already in the game kind of thing. So if they sell that as a separate, almost like I think Deathloop, they did something along those lines, which was pretty cool as well. So I'm looking forward to see if they do that for this game. But like you said, for Mafia 3, that environment, like New Orleans in the 60s, yes, it may not have been the best place in certain areas for people looking like
Yeah,
us,
yeah,
but they tried to capture the feel as far as like the town, the vibe of the city, the people, and the culture for that area in that time period. And it looks like we're going to get a similar look into like the South as well. The language, the music, the people, and some of the lore and the history behind some of the spiritual, not, I wouldn't say necessarily demons, but like some of the bad spirits per se.
the
Like the
voodoo
Haints are going to be
type things.
your main adversaries and things like that. So I'm curious to see how all of that plays into whether it's a bigger boss battle at the end kind of thing, or just some of the things that you'll have to like clear certain areas or regions and things along those lines. But just the overall concept is so cool. And like you said, the almost like that stop frame motion kind of, or like Spider-Verse type of look, even though you could tell everything else is moving smoothly, but like the character, like the facial animations and things like that, how they have that type of aesthetic to it. It looks so awesome. So that's just one game for next week that's going to have a deeper dive. But man, it's one of the ones that I'm definitely looking forward to for 2025.
Yep,
And with the roadmap Xbox has, there's a lot of them. But yeah, that one was definitely high up on the list. And yeah, heck, even Phil Spencer said out of his like the recent studios that they acquired, it was between them and I think in Exile, but he was more excited for what he saw, what Compulsion was working on.
yeah,
So I'm curious to see just everything this game has to deliver, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get like a release date, or maybe even like a developer direct date where they do their final deep dive before they put it in our hands kind of thing. So, yeah,
Yeah,
really
and
excited for next week
heck yeah, I
or for this
completely
coming week.
this coming week. Yeah, yeah. I completely forgot about that. Where when Phil was like asked like which out of the different studios at our Xbox, which one are you excited to be showcased or play? And yeah, that was one of them. I always remember being like not surprised by that, but that was like a cool little comment. And they've been working on this game for a while. I'm trying to remember when they started development, but I don't think it was that long after We Happy Few, or maybe when they were purchased. So they've been working on this for a long time. Um,
Yeah,
so I'm very
yeah.
curious. uh, was it like 4 year, five?
I think it's 5 plus, but like in some inside baseball that I've heard or whisper down the lane that I heard was they it from what we saw, the first unveiling, I guess it was from the developer direct, that's their third iteration.
Mm,
So they've had a couple of, I guess, style changes throughout the development, but what we saw on these last two from the showcase and the developer direct, that's their third and final. But they kind of tweaked the look a little bit more, and I think that stop motion type of look, not quite claymation, but the artistic choice that they went with, I think fits with the theme that they're carrying out and stuff.
yeah.
So I'm glad it may have taken a little bit longer than what they may have anticipated, but I'm glad that they landed on that style. So
Yeah,
we'll
same.
see how it goes.
Yeah. And I've been in those boardroom talks where like you love an idea so much and then it just evolves over time. Like just like you try things, some things work, some things don't. And it's all in the creative process, which I love that whole process. So there's also a little mini topic right after this because
Mhm.
tomorrow, Nintendo will be having a little direct, actually. So the stream will be roughly 10 minutes and showcase Donkey Kong Country of Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Japan. This will be tomorrow. I forgot what the time said, but I think it was like 2 p.m. something.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, so 5 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys are interested in that, I don't think any game info. I think they said no game info would be featured. Um, so it's just that. So if you guys are interested in looking at some stuff from Super Nintendo World and Universal Studios Japan, then that is for you. Another just a little mini topic in this week. It's like this week has a lot of little drops of stuff
Mhm.
that kind of adds up. So I kind of wanted to talk about our first official, I guess, topic will be Warner Brothers.
Mhm.
So Warner Brothers is focusing on a few key franchises, including Batman, Hogwarts Legacy, and Mortal Kombat, and then Game of Thrones. And I'll have some of my footage up so you guys can see it. So according to an article from thegamer.com, Warner Brothers is kind of shifting its gaming priorities. So instead of focusing on four key franchises, moving forward, Harry Potter via Hogwarts Legacy, DC, specifically Batman, Game of Thrones, and Mortal Kombat will be the company's priority, according to its CEO. So, massive losses in WB's gaming division have caused the company to reevaluate how it will do business. They follow that up with Warner Brothers is ripe with exciting IPs across the board, including the characters and villains that make up the larger DC universe, the properties of Adult Swim, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and other hidden gems like Scooby Doo and Samurai Jack. But if you are hoping to see those properties cross over into games, then you're most likely out of luck. Following disappointing sales across the board and financial losses, Warner Brothers has reevaluated its gaming plans. as a result, the company is committed to focusing on just those four franchises moving forward. So I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but I actually think it's very interesting. Um, like I don't know. I don't. I can see why they want to go in this direction. It's like it's kind of why you keep seeing reboots in movies, right?
Yeah.
You keep seeing a new Ghostbusters or something like that because nostalgia brings almost guaranteed seats. Like people are going to show up because they're familiar with the franchise. Um, so Warner Brothers having this mentality is not really shocking to me. It is kind of disappointing though in certain ways, like because they, like this article said, they have a ton of IP that I would love for them to start to venture out into, not just constant Batman games, Batman VR, Batman on the Switch, Batman. Like I love Batman. Don't get me wrong, but the thing about Batman that I really do love is the amount of lore and characters out around Batman is actually kind of crazy. Like Batman and Spider-Man have some of the best villains, like in general, in my opinion. Like Spider-Man has a ton of great villains, and Batman has a ton of great villains. But there's a lot of IP that they have, um, that they keep. I feel like what Froggy just said. He said Warner Brothers management shot themselves in the foot multiple times and then started pointing fingers. Like this reminds me. I'm trying to think of what this reminds me of. It kind of just reminds me of Square Enix,
Yep.
where they were like, "Hey, we're gonna get rid of our departments, like our is it Eastern, Western, our basically studios in America that are working on um what's it called? They were working on like Tomb Raider. They were working
Yeah.
on
Oh, the
um
Guardians of the
Guardians. That's what I
Galaxy.
was trying to remember. Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they just kept saying like it's not financially good. Let's just sell off the studio for NFT money, and then it kind of is. It reminded me of that. It does suck because I keep seeing things every time I see Warner Brothers. It's never a good thing. It's never like, oh yeah, we're gonna start doing great things in this area sector. It's always like something bad, like oh, we just finished this movie that everybody wanted to see, and then we just canceled it because of tax reasons. I keep seeing that stuff happen. So Fuzzy, I kind of want to just bring it to you. Well, like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, I have a lot of different, just mind racing thoughts on like them focusing. So just as who people who are just coming in, they're deciding to focus in on a few franchises. So
Yeah.
they're just focusing on Batman. They're just focusing on Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat, and Game of Thrones. Do you think this is a good thing, bad thing? What are your overall thoughts?
It's partially good because Batman, I think, in the grand scheme of things, will be a financial win for them. It's what a lot of the fans have been asking for a while. So hopefully they don't try to turn it into a games as a service type of thing or like a looter shooter aspect. Like I'm pretty sure they've heard the critiques on like Suicide Squad. I know a lot of people enjoyed it, but I think the gaming media kind of spoiled that for the most part, or the traction that game could have had,
Mhm.
because it was like an uphill battle at that point. No matter how many influencers were having fun with the game, there were always the ones that were like, "This isn't the Batman game we wanted." Well, first of all, it's not a Batman game, but secondly, it's you gotta base a game or judge a game on what it is and not what you wanted it to be, kind of thing. So focus on Batman. Awesome idea. Mortal Kombat, I think, is also an awesome idea. I would love for them to consider doing a collab or crossover. Of course, the easy one or the low hanging fruit would be a Killer Instinct Mortal Kombat, um, and you can make it multi-plat if you should choose to, kind of thing. I think that would work, but ultimately, even though they're probably their biggest rival, even when SNK was Street Fighter's biggest rival, they still had a collab. I say a Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter collab is something that they should consider, just for the fact that there are fans in both genre, or in that genre, but for both franchises. What better way to kind of capitalize on that, especially considering Capcom has also had Marvel, so you could have Marvel versus DC, and you could also have Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter kind of thing, or go on the opposite spectrum, go with Tekken, because Tekken is also another beloved franchise that has had a bit of a resurgence in the fighting genre. So focus on Mortal Kombat, but consider collabs and not just making another Mortal Kombat might be the way to go. Not saying that people are tired of it, and not saying that we need like another DC. I forget what they call it when they do the DC ones, and I
Oh,
bought a few of
like
those.
the multiverse thing or the
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I forget what they call the fighting versions of them, but like I still think do collabs. Call up Capcom, have it DC versus Marvel type of thing, or Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter. See where it takes you. I think that would be a coup de grace kind of sales game all across the board, where they will get a nice chunk of cash, and Capcom will probably get a nice chunk of cash out of all the sales on that, like kind of like a crossover. Um, Hogwarts Legacy is a no-brainer, even though it wasn't critically, uh, you
So
know,
bogus.
yeah, it's like they purposely ignored it for a number of reasons that don't directly pertain to the game, just the IP's founder, I guess you could say. But the
Yeah.
game still sold well. It sold like gangbusters. I think it did 20 million plus
So
the
one of
year
their
that it
best
came out.
selling game it was like one of the best selling games that year, but it was also for Warner Brothers, like I think their best probably in general.
Yeah, I think it was one of their biggest title sales of their, except for if you were to add up all the Batman series, but that just in that one title for that year. And that, I think those numbers were before they ported it over to last gen, which is amazing that they were able to still have that game playable on last gen consoles. Um, Considering how sometimes it was technically taxing for the next gen. So to be able to pull that off, I think you have a series that definitely needs more attention, and some expansion or growth. The whole Quidditch thing probably should have been a DLC as opposed to like a standalone, but hopefully they learn from how to build on their titles. I think they have some great people there that hopefully the CEO takes some pointers from, as far as for some of their direction on games and things, is because some of their film stuff is starting to improve as well. They also had the WB fighting game, which when they brought it back, it had a
Mm.
lot of new characters that people like Gremlins, Jason
Multiverses.
Voorhees, and yeah, so they definitely, that's another one that they should focus on. Not saying that that should go in place of Mortal Kombat, but that's one that it seems like they listened to some of the talent on the inside, and it paid off a bit better than their first launch of that brawler that they had. But I also want to see them go back to like Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor with having that Nemesis system. Like they need a
Yeah.
game that's RPG like, with a Nemesis system that has the graphic detail that that game had, but maybe don't make it so microtransaction heavy. I get it. They're looking to make as many dollars as they can, but if they haven't learned from Hogwarts, where it's all story, almost no microtransactions kind of thing, I think there's a lot of potential in that series to bring it back, where the Nemesis system, considering they have a patent for it, it's not doing them any good sitting on the shelf collecting dust. Put it to use in another, Shadow of War type of game. Um, I think that should be added into that lump sum of games that they're going to focus on. But as far as, like, I understand they're looking at the losses from Suicide Squad. That's one of those things where I think if Gotham Knights was closer to a Batman Arkham that the people wanted, I think they could have gotten away with Suicide Squad being the looter shooter that it was and not take away or get as much criticism from the gaming media. Like the gaming media was upset with Gotham Knights not living up to what they wanted and then hoping that Suicide Squad was that. And I think that's where it kind of really hurt them. And I don't think that they positioned that game in a way that the fans or the gamers out there knew exactly what that was. Like if they had posed it like a looter shooter, not saying it needs to be like Destiny or Division, but
Yeah.
if they showed it more in that light, and then Gotham Knights had actual Batman in it, or it was more of an Arkham Knight kind of game, I think that would have been a better step for them. But their focus, I don't know. It's just weird because Mad Max is a series that it was an underrated game, and I think a sequel done as well as the original would do much better this time, especially considering that there's supposed to be more films coming. Um, I think the last one, I'm not sure how well Furiosa did in comparison, but I think it did well enough in comparison to um, what other films released around that time
Yeah.
did. It may not have lived completely up to their numbers, but I think it did well enough that there needs to be another Mad Max game. That was something that
Yeah.
they published that they need to revisit. And I think they own the license since it's a WB IP, I believe, at this point.
I think so. Yeah, I forgot that they own the rights to Mad Max in
Yeah.
general, but I mean, listen, I completely agree with you. And you had some peeps in the chat saying like we should get Mortal Kombat versus like the Gremlins. Mortal Kombat. Sotness says Mortal Kombat versus Sesame Street. I mean, listen, and to who said this? Someone was basically saying like the level of brutality. I think it was Louis,
Mhm.
kind of saying like how it's hard to do a Mortal Kombat versus like a Marvel because like in Mortal Kombat you uppercut someone's spine off and then they just shake it off.
Yeah.
They just like, oh, that kind of hurt. It's like, what the heck? Then I just snap your neck and um I mean, it is what it is. That they could deal with that. I think it's like a license thing. Like how do you protect
Mhm.
your characters in a marketable thing where you want your heroes to always look the best. Um, that's something they dealt with Mortal Kombat versus DC. If you guys remember that game, like it wasn't as bloody as I would have liked it to be,
Yeah.
but I feel like they could definitely do another one. It was a fun game for me to play, and yeah. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off with that, but I just was looking at some of those. But yeah, Mad Max would be like a great one to return back to, and like your comments with like if they did a second, I feel like more people would return because in the time frame it was kind of released in, like some people was like, oh, it was like a surprise kind of hit for some people. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, 100%. I think with Mortal Kombat, like that is one of those franchises that they can experiment a little bit more.
Mhm.
Like it just has a lot of potential when you do those crossover kind of events. Like they have a history of doing it with in the past. I think doing it Marvel would be an awesome one. They've done it with the comics, so
Mhm.
I do hope it was a long time ago though. They did a Marvel versus DC comic
Mhm.
book long time ago. They haven't done a lot of partnerships since, but I feel like that could be a big game. You
Yeah.
you you are grabbing different fan bases and be like I love Superman. People like Superman can't win against this Marvel character and put them together. That's just good engagement overall. But I guess it also depends how you market it because Suicide Squad I thought was a great game. I thought Mad Max was a great game. Both of
Mhm.
those games, what they have in common is the marketing wasn't 100% there. Suicide Squad, though, I kind of attribute that to the media and how they was like, this game is not like an Arkham game. It's the same thing like with how the media treated Hogwarts. It's like
Yeah.
a trend going on now. I'm starting to notice with how the media is treating some WB games, but I don't know if that's 100% their fault, but that is something they have to kind of figure out kind of going forward is how do they market it, because in my head, in my brain, a Mortal Kombat versus uh like Marvel, that's like cool. Like I feel
Mhm.
like that's guaranteed seats and stuff. But if you market
Mhm.
it in a way where it's just like, oh, this microtransaction type game, this is like a mobile game, then people are gonna treat it like it's lesser than what it actually is.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people I said, like amount of people that I've heard say stuff about Suicide Squad without even like playing the game, like this is graphically super, like it's really good. If you guys have played
Mhm.
Suicide Squad, like graphically it's really good. I thought even the story went in some areas I did not know or expect it to go in. You wouldn't know that if like you just heard stuff from IGN like trashing the game before it even came out, you know.
Yeah.
So they have to really figure that out. I do think them limiting the IP to things that are guaranteed money, it makes sense for them financially.
Mhm.
Um, I'm always in the camp of like, let's try and do it, like let's get this IP and this IP, but that's not always, financially feasible, as we've seen something like Astrobot, for example. A lot of people have been praising Astrobot,
Mhm.
barely sells like 1 million copies, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure they're looking at the numbers. I'm always in the creative camp. I want more from their IP, but maybe they're looking at these numbers and they're like, you know what, it makes sense for us right now to focus on the Hogwarts, the Batmans, the Mortal Kombats, because we know that people will be seated regardless
Yeah.
of what we do. So I understand it. I think a lot of this could have been prevented if they've made certain decisions beforehand, especially with their movies. Like a lot of their movies that people have been wanting to see, they just be canceling. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't make sense to me. But let's read some of these comments. Let's see what you guys got. Um, Satnus says they could do Gremlin's tower defense. Bruh, hire me. Yeah. Honestly, that's such a good idea. I wish I thought of that. A Gremlin's tower defense would be freaking. That would be amazing, actually. Maybe like a mobile. That could be a good like Fallout 76 like mobile game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually brilliant. Yeah, hire this man. That's a great idea. PTK says congrats on the channel milestones as well. Of course. Thanks, man. PTK, shout out to you, man. And he said before that, like, need to go back and watch the show. Yeah, we basically just was talking about the show yesterday, and yeah, it was fun show. The Sousa says they won't do it because of the fatalities. I think, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a problem. you can't be you can't be punching Spider Man's head off, and that's it's a little difficult, but they could do
Oh,
like, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, Lewis told me, or made mention it was Injustice was what I was thinking of as far as the title of the games. So that's where they did
Oh
those
yeah, yeah,
DC
yeah.
things. But like you said, they can't punch Spider-Man's head off. But I would love to see them do just like we've seen some of the movie star kind of things that they've been doing. Do
Yep.
a celebrity death match. Like remember, I think it was Robot Chicken
Oh
had
yeah, that
something
was
like
good.
that, and it was on MTV for a bit. Like just get as many celebrities that want to be involved. Like you got at this point, you need to have Mike Tyson, and you need to have what's his name that he's fighting. I
The
can't remember
little
that.
the little Mac thing, or I guess that's Nintendo, but yeah.
Well,
Oh,
no,
oh,
no.
oh, you're talking about the
What's his?
boxer?
Yeah, the guy that actually challenged Tyson. I can't remember.
One of the Pauls. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Have him in it.
J. Cole.
have, I mean, you might as well have like Cardi B and
Yeah.
maybe Lil Kim and maybe uh you could have a ton. Just have celebrities, like have it almost like be like the way Def Jam, like the fighting game that they had years ago. Have it
Yeah.
like that, but with celebrities, and you know that there are celebrities that would sign up for it. And if some of them want a lot of extra money, I guess they'll be part of the DLC stuff, which people will be willing to pay for some of those, celebs. But yeah, celebrity death match, no holds barred. You can knock people's heads off or run them over with a car kind of thing, whatever you got to do. But
Yeah.
like for the Injustice versus like Marvel kind of thing, tone it down. No fatalities. Just you knock them out. You see like do like the way Street Fighter does and have like the little stars and birds around their head and they're just laying down, taking them
Yeah,
out.
that'd be really fun. I do know they WB tends to like partner with a lot of. I know they partner with a lot of different musicians, like they have artists underneath their label, but they also partner with a lot of movies, as we've seen in the Mortal Kombat like DLCs. Like you see Ghostface fighting like Jason,
Yeah,
and I feel like they could do a horror fighting game too.
that would
Like
be awesome.
that, like yeah, I would love to have a horror based fighting game. That just came to my brain. Lewis says Mortal Kombat versus Smurf World. Like, see, see, now you're going too far. You're going too far. That would be funny. Did Gotham Knights bomb? I don't remember.
I don't think it bombed, but I don't think it met their expectations. Like,
Yeah,
I think they were hoping for 10 million plus, and if I'm not mistaken, I know it did something like 5 million plus, which is good, but not probably good enough for what they wanted. But
yeah,
most other studios would have probably been like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we're going to have a Gotham Knights too," but WB was like, "All right, Suicide Squad, it is. It's all on you guys. Save the company
yeah,
thing, and good luck."
yeah. I believe like to their expectations. Yeah, I don't think it fit, but I think it sold okay. Um, I just thought it was like weird. Like beforehand, he had all this talk like from the devs saying like how technically challenging the game is and why, because they had to kind of explain to themselves like why the game was 30 frames per second, and they were saying
Mm.
like, yeah, it's just hard to do like instancing with like different players coming into a open world city, and then Rocksteady like immediately did it 60 frames with Suicide Squad. I always that story to me is always really funny. So Satna says we could have a dope Scooby Doo survival horror, a little Luigi's Mansions vibe. Here's the thing: I love these ideas, but that's the point of like why this is so heartbreaking for me is because all your amazing ideas that you guys are pitching right now, Warner Brothers was like, nah, just make another Mortal Kombat. Make Mortal Kombat 12 or
Yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy 2. You know, that's kind of what they're saying, which is my point of why this is disappointing. Because I'm loving all your ideas. Like Sotness, you should get hired. However, that is not what Warner Brothers is wanting to do. Froggy says they should also do what Disney is doing, license out other IP. Yeah, they actually should do that. That's actually a good idea. That is what Disney does with like Spider-Man, right? Or Blade now.
Yeah.
So yeah, they actually should do that. That's actually a good idea. WB mishandled both games management. I could have swore like around the time when Warner Brothers was about to get purchased from Microsoft and they were kind of out shopping it, they talked about how their games division is kind of useless or something around that time. And I think someone started to look at the numbers and they're like, "What? The game division is making how much?"
Mm.
And that's where we are at now today.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what happened.
Yeah, all
Anything on that?
talks broke down after that because I think the gaming division was making more than the music and the movie divisions combined. And they were like, wait a
Yeah,
minute. The only problem is we got a lot of people working that aren't making anything right now. They need to make some games. And then they chose to have. I think Rocksteady was. I maybe I'm in an alternate universe or something, but I could have sworn originally Rocksteady was working on Gotham Knights, and the other
Mm.
team was working on Suicide Squad. And early in the development phase, they switched games, or the studio switched projects or something,
I
which
thought I
was
heard
weird.
that too. Maybe we're, you know, that they talk about that theory where like Shazam was made like who Sinbad was in Shazam. I
Mm-hmm.
remember living in that reality. I'm just saying. Like I could have swore that was a thing.
The
There's a whole thing.
Mandela effect.
Mandela effect. Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, Mad Max was a banger. Furiosa is incredible from
Yeah.
Sotness. I agree. Louis says not saying it can't be done, but it's not, definitely not easy to make. Yeah. The Sousa says, "What's the name of the hero John Cena plays again? That would make a cool game."
Mhm.
Peacemaker. His name is Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. And catching up, Taylor's Ray says, "Hello, 3-bit fuzzy and chat." Hello, hello. The Sousa says, "I'm surprised they never updated Gotham Knights to 60 on consoles ever." It's not possible. They told us, right? They said it was too hard. So here we are. All right, so we're fully caught up. Shout out to everybody hopping on in. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting topic. Warner Brothers, I think we'll see what they end up doing. They still have a couple of rippling projects. Like it was rumored that the Wonder Woman game was going to have elements of the of what was in that Nemesis
Oh,
system.
the Nemesis. Yeah, the Nemesis system. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's still true, but
Hopefully.
or I hope so. That's such a cool system. Like, why patent stuff? This just feels like a Nintendo thing. You patent stuff, and you're like, no one ever can touch. If you have a thing that you have a ball and it captures another person, then we're gonna come for you. Like, so weird. Like, why patent this stuff?
Yeah.
I guess they're protecting their stuff, but I always thought that was dumb. All right, so Nate Dogg says heard anything about Fallout 3-bit? Nope, nope, I haven't heard anything. I'm not insider. Uh, Death Stranding says I usually try to have the announcements in the beginning. I usually try to have these like kind of announcements in the beginning of the show, but I already posted on my Twitter that I do plan on cutting my Twitter usage by the end of the year. You might occasionally see just like show announcements plus like links to to this show. But I haven't really been super active on there. I kind of moved over to Blue Sky. I'm saying this because I had a couple people ask me why before the show. So yeah, just cutting down my usage on Twitter. This is just not for me. Toxic cesspool. Don't really like Elon. Don't really want to support a place that doesn't want to support me. So, but no hard feelings that people are still on there. I've been on Twitter for a lot of years. I have a lot of genuine friendships on there. I've been on Twitter maybe like 4 or 5 years now. I feel like even longer. This is like my second account, right? I think. But yeah, I had a lot of genuine friendships on there. I had several posts go viral. Met a lot of great people on the site. Just about that time for me. So if you guys want to see stuff outside of these shows, I'm pretty much just on Blue Sky now, but I'll try to post on the show announcements still. You know, will still be on here. So definitely look out for that. So if you're interested and want to keep up with me outside of these shows, just feel free to follow me over there or no. It's all good either way. But I did post the reason why I'm bringing this up because I posted my Death Stranding pictures over there. Like I'm a couple of hours in. I'm almost to the point where I stopped playing the first time over on the PS5. And I will say my experience is generally positive with the game, but knowing that this game is not for everyone. I don't know how much I can say that for Death Stranding in particular, right? This game's not for everyone for several reasons. For one, there's like a bit of a learning curve with the menu system. I feel like the menus in this game are kind of all over the place. you can get into a rhythm of like knowing how to put supplies like on your back and distributing weight. It's like super unique mechanics. I think it's super cool. And I think the other reason why I feel like this game isn't for everyone is the fact that this game is about travel. So it's like you're basically it's kind of like about traveling and like connection. Like you're delivering packages. You're kind of connecting strands from one side of America to the other. You do get like online features of hidden players also trying to help you on your journey, which is really cool. Like you can like leave a rope or ladder for another player, and it will pop up in their game, which is really cool. But looking at the game, like just really basically, this game is about walking, leaping, and crossing rivers. that's that's what it's really about. You do have weapons you get later on, and this is a Hideo Kojima game. So if you guys haven't played a Hideo Kojima game, there is weirdness. Like for example, there's something about your character's blood that makes it so you can sense these invisible enemies. It's what you see in the trailer that is popping up on the screen. You basically you can use your own bodily fluids to destroy these creatures. So that includes your own fecal matter.
Mhm.
It includes your own shower water. Um, so like in Kojima fashion, super creative but weird to a lot of people. Like the fact that I can use my shower water as a weapon. I like, yeah, like okay, you know. I understand that is not for everyone, but super interested in the game. I'm about maybe like 3 hours in or so. Like you pass the main tutorial, and it's getting to introduce you to some mechanics and things like that. There's an interesting side to this story, Fuzz,
Mhm.
where Death Stranding is on Xbox, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's a little weird. It shows this like interesting pattern of third party publishers wanting to opt out of exclusive deals with console manufacturers being mostly Sony. Pearl Abyss was an example, flat out denying a console deal with Sony and it being reported to the media. Then you had Square Enix coming out saying they want to provide, thanks for subscribing, to provide to more consoles and showing up on stage with Xbox.
Mhm.
Sega Atlas Games appearing on Game Pass and the huge campaign they've had with Metaphor being Xbox
Mhm.
marketed. I
Mhm.
mean, just historically, that is weird. Just because
Yeah.
they are so tied in the past, they've been so tied to the Sony brands.
Yeah.
And I was saying on PTK's show last night that this seems to be something Xbox has read the tea leaves on again. Like there's been multiple instances throughout Xbox's generation where they establish a precedence way earlier than people are ready for. Like they usually get the arrows to the chest. Like, what, you're putting your games on PC? Oh, you know, people. Oh. Like, what do you mean? Xbox just has a history of doing that. And then
Yeah.
other developers kind of like start to like slowly follow that pattern of what Xbox does. It happened with the Xbox One announcement and the features they had on the console always being online. Now that's pretty much a lot of things are always online nowadays. It's not like a weird thought, but it was back then.
Mhm.
So Xbox has been pushing for this games everywhere initiative, kind of codename Project Latitude, which is Xbox's plan to move Xbox games to other platforms, right? And there's this debate kind of internally, it's been reported that whether or not it's a good idea. But I think when you see a game like Astrobot, a game that people touted as being this mega success, barely crossing the mark of 1 million sales, it kind of just begs the question to me, and we'll see what you think about this, Fuzzy. It
Mhm.
kind of like begs a question like, what is the true metric of success? Because if it's supposed to be good games, then we have two current examples, games that Sony released that were pretty good but sold terribly, being Concord and the expectation of Astrobot. However you want to
Mhm.
think about that. So this kind of brings the question to me, like where Xbox, like they might have their games on multiple platforms, and
Mhm.
I've always touted that as like the Trojan horse. Because if you look at the most played games on PlayStation, they are Xbox first party titles, right?
Yeah,
You got your Minecraft, you got your Call of Duties, Sea of Thieves did super well
yeah.
for several. It was like the top for a couple months at least.
Mhm.
So Fuzz, Death Stranding on Xbox, just to tie that all up. Like, do you think this is going to be an ongoing thing with publishers, like, and if you have thoughts on the game itself and what this means for other publishers, like what are your overall thoughts?
I think this is a good sign of how things will be moving in the future. Xbox is, like you said, they're the ones that catch the arrows first. They're always sometimes ahead of the curve on things, sometimes too early as far as like the digital rights ownership and sharing and all that. The Xbox One launch didn't go quite as well. Lack of communication or not communicating the benefits as well probably hurt them. But now with their Project Latitude putting everything everywhere. Um, it has its drawbacks. It does rub some of the fans the wrong way, but where you have to meet the gamers, like the key thing Phil said a few years back is that they want to reach 2 billion gamers, and people laughed at that number, thinking he was crazy because there aren't 2 billion console gamers out there. Well, he wasn't just thinking about console gamers; he was thinking about PC gamers. He was thinking about mobile gamers. Gamers on tablets, gamers on laptops, gamers using a browser, gamers on competing platforms, even for that matter. Um, and you know, seeing other third parties start to like that have always partnered with a particular platform or partnered with Sony in general, looking across the street or buying back ownership to their IP. Because for the longest time, Death Stranding was listed as like a PlayStation exclusive, primarily because they had the marketing rights or the what we thought were the full rights to um, Death Stranding. But Kojima being Kojima, we probably should have known he wanted rights to that himself, and he made whatever deal he needed to make to at least get the game made and then work out the details later. Hence why he's not doing like a Metal Gear anymore, and why he parted ways with that particular publisher and stuff.
Yeah,
But it's great to see. I thought it was weird with 505 publishing it on PC and it was appearing in Game Pass PC a few months back. I thought
yeah,
it was cool nonetheless. I mean, 505 has come through on some other things in the past like that. Um, we even had Forspoken on in the Microsoft Store for PC. Didn't have it in Game Pass, but I assume at some point it eventually makes it over there. Because I think Square owns the IP, even though PlayStation funded it or added funding to the development process, but I don't think they
yeah,
have ownership to it. But seeing Kojima get his baby back as far as Death Stranding, who knows? Maybe Death Stranding 2 makes its appearance on Xbox as well. We'll see. Um, but that also might mean that OD will probably go elsewhere beyond Xbox, in the future. But in any event, I think if games are to do as well as they possibly can, they got to be as many places as possible. PC is that, I wouldn't say untapped market, but it's that market that, yeah, a lot of people like to say, oh, they just pirate stuff. No, I mean, there are pirates there, but there's also pirates in console because there are jailbroken consoles out there. They're not in the same numbers because it's almost a waste of time, because as soon as you jailbreak a console, usually within a month they have a fix for it, then you got to jailbreak it all over again. So it's an uphill battle. But on PC, you have those that are pirates in that regard. You also have those that want to, have their digital content that they paid for in multiple formats. So there are some pirates that are, at least since there aren't any rules or regulations on digital quote unquote ownership, like i.e. with some Nintendo stuff, some people have taken it upon themselves to make it so they can play their paid for Switch games on better devices than what Nintendo seems to want to put out there, at least until the Switch 2 comes along. But yeah, just seeing Death Stranding on Xbox, it was pretty cool. I'm hoping we get some more surprises like that. I don't know how happy or if Sony is watching from a distance to see how well this does. I do see a lot of people on Xbox playing this game that have recently purchased it on Xbox. And all of that aside, I think MLB had some stats before where it showed that it was being played more on Xbox than it was on PlayStation. Now, being played versus purchase, I'm not sure what the overall numbers are, but they've been good enough that MLB has been happy to have it in Game Pass at least the past three of was it 3+ years now.
Yeah.
So it has to be doing something right. And if Kojima gets to see that his game gets even more sales over, well, not necessarily more sales than what it may have gotten on PlayStation, but gets even more sales than what he originally envisioned by putting it on Xbox, even better, because that one goes to more funding to OD and more funding to, possibly Death Stranding 2 and whatever other future projects he has in the works. So yeah, I think multi-platform ultimately is going to be the wave of the future. Us console gamers have to kind of get used to it. I mean, me personally, I'm kind of past it at this point. Not that I'm fully PC, but I just look at it as the studios that I enjoy the most just happen to be on the Xbox side right now, and they have a deeper roadmap at the moment. And if I get to play those things on a handheld or my PC or my console or stream it through my phone or my tablet, I don't have to worry about it just being tied to one box. I can play it wherever, just like you can, a DVD that you own, you can play wherever, or a MP3 that you bought through iTunes. Well, if you convert it to an MP3, you can play it wherever, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I like those options. It suits me well because I'm not always at my computer desk. I'm not always in my recliner. Sometimes I want to take stuff on the go, like especially if I'm going to horror cons and stuff like that. Take my Steam Deck and still have access to the games. Yeah, this is the way moving forward. But so cool seeing Death Stranding, and maybe we see Spider-Man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Licensing fees would definitely help. Fill some obligations on Sony's side. So we'll see.
Yeah, this is the second kind of Xbox game when you boot it up, it says Sony. It's so weird. It was like it was a surprise announcement. It wasn't like they were hyping it up like Death Stranding's coming to Xbox. Like, it was just like bam, it's available now. Also for a discount, so it's not just the normal retail price that it would be. They discounted it. I got it for $20 or something like that. But I think the retail is like what, 30, 40, something like that. So initial out the gate, it wasn't like they were just like, oh, we're gonna announce this Death Stranding games coming to Xbox, whatever. It was like available, and then it also has like they wanted people to jump in and try it out. So super cool. It does get into a lot of different conversations about the industry and where it's at right now. I think Xbox has just set a pretty decent precedent with like the expectation of where their mindset is of being Xbox and having your first party titles and being like, hey, we already they basically have a ton of first party games already on PlayStation. So it's not like it's outside of their DNA to keep doing so. Um So it's like, I don't know. PlayStation is just in an interesting spot right now.
Mhm.
Um, in terms of like strategy of what they want to do going forward, because a lot of these third party games, I mean, a lot of their showcases for Sony for the last few years have been third party showcases. And a lot of these third party games, a lot of these third party studios in particular, are wanting to venture out, not just keep doing exclusive deals, because it's just is short term gain. It's a short term, like, yeah, sure, you give me like 5 million, but how much am I actually losing if I just put this on multiple platforms, instead of just hindering it on one box? Because it gets into the other argument where if I'm playing on PS5 and I'm playing on an Xbox, there's certain things that the audience might enjoy more on one platform to the other. There's a lot of shooter type gamers on an Xbox, and I'm sure there's a lot of shooter ones on Sony as well. But you never know like the market potential that your game has until you release it on said platform. Like Pow World did amazing numbers on the Xbox, and it was only on the Xbox for a while. Now it's venturing out, but you never really know the success your game can have unless you really try. But if you kind of just half do it, then the audience usually feels that. And I feel like Sony's current model, where they're like, let's put it on PC a year from now or something like that, usually just ends up hurting them. Um, because the PC audience just wants things as they're hyped up. It makes sense. If you are hyping up a game, you're like, oh, all right, cool. This God of War, this looks awesome. When is this coming out? Oh, it's not out yet on PC. Oh, okay. And then people forget about it, and then they release it later, and the hype's like, I'm playing this right now. I could wait. You know, that just feels like it does more damage than they're probably intending. And the PC market in particular, um, is they really don't take crap. Like the way they decide to buy games or not, if they feel offended by a game or whatever, they will not buy it. Like it just if they feel like you're trying to get one over on them, I feel like the PC audience is more susceptible to just like screw you and I won't buy it. Than the console people. Console people, they're just like, all right, you're suckers. You'll buy it regardless of what we do, how we charge this game. We could charge it $80, $90. You'll buy it. PC people don't play that. So I feel like Sony will definitely learn that over time. Let's get into some of these comments. We got Nate Dogg saying, all I want is good games. I'll play them anywhere, Xbox, PS Pro, or Switch 2. That's what a lot of these companies are hoping on. So if you put your game on the PS Pro, Switch, Xbox, and you're like, that day you're just on your Switch and you see it in their store, and you're like, oh, yeah, I feel like playing it on the go. I'll do it on the Switch. Or I just got the PS Pro. Let me experience this game. Like, that's what a lot of these companies are hoping for. So I feel like a lot of these third party companies are just like, why do I want to just restrict this game to one platform?
Mhm.
You know, Satnus says, I never played MLB my whole life until Game Pass got it. Same, exact same. And that's me with a couple things within Game Pass, like Persona. I don't think I would have ever played Persona if it wasn't in Game Pass. I've heard about it over the years, didn't interest me. It just goes to show you people are comfortable in their ecosystems, and that is why it's actually really good to venture out. Like I'm comfortable with an Xbox slash PC ecosystem, so I'm more likely to try out a game if it hits those systems. But I have all the systems. Decado says with mods like these, 3 bytes doesn't need enemies. Yes. Nate Dogg says I got my Xbox when I saw the show went to Game Pass along with Bethesda purchase. Yeah, that was really cool. The Sousa says I'm fine with it, but when Master Chief is on PlayStation, a single tear may slowly run down my cheek. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's definitely gonna be weird to see you boot up your PS5 and you see That's gonna be weird on a PS5.
Yeah.
I will admit, but Halo's. I feel the console war guy in me, inside of me, does not want Halo to go to P. But the sort of realist in me, like where I'm seeing the industry is going in general, I'm like, okay, it might happen. I feel like if you're a multiplayer type game, if you're doing Gears or Halo, those would be really beneficial to be multiplat. If I'm just thinking about this business wise, but of course, like the fanboy in me, like, no, don't do it. But it's where the industry is headed. It goes both ways. Like when I'm talking about like Sony doing this, I think Xbox is also doing this the other way around as well. Lewis says, I think this is one of few exceptions, honestly. Maybe. I know Sony is really stubborn with their IP and how they want to handle it.
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima probably was just like, listen, I'm only going to enter a deal with you, kind of what Fuzzy was saying. I'm only going to enter a deal with you if I can own the IP. Because what happened with Konami, if you guys just look into the whole history of that and how they kind of screwed him over in a lot of ways. Yeah, he's like, I will not sign this unless you add in some addendum in there that like, hey, I will do this, but I retain full rights of my IP. But I mean, could this be an anomaly? Maybe. But in terms of them going to PC, I could see that shrinking in the meantime. PS5 to PC, I could see that shrinking. And I can also see a few other franchises like Forspoken, for example. I can see if I mean that game. I don't even know how well it sold, but that would be another one where I could see it randomly popping up on
Yeah.
Xbox. Is there any other games you think, Fuzz?
Uh, there was a time where I thought Returnal could. Um, I I know it's probably not high on the list as far as things that people on Xbox would probably look forward to, but I think it is a decent enough game that considering it's just over the half mil mark, it might be worth a try over on Xbox, considering they do have a co-op option. The co-op option didn't seem to take off as well on PlayStation, but Xbox as a platform lives for co-op. So I think it would actually have a little bit better, legs here on the Xbox side of things. It was kind of believed to be the same for like with Helldivers 2. Hearing now that that might not be the case anymore. Like there were talks, but I guess the talks broke down.
Yeah.
We'll see if things change over time. But outside of that, like I'm pretty sure, and I'm probably one of the few like fans of Forza Horizon that's like, yeah, put 5 over there so you can draw them to Xbox with Forza Horizon 6 and don't put 6 over there. Um, I could see them putting that game over there, but put Polyphony putting Gran Turismo over here, I don't know. But I'm hoping they put it on PC soon because I think the game would have more legs on PC than it does on PlayStation, to be honest. Um, I don't know if there's anything else that stands a chance. Like I was partially joking, but kind of partially serious with Spider-Man just for licensing. Spider-Man 1 definitely met all their obligations on what the licensing agreement called for. Spider-Man 2, I don't think met that, at least in the proportion that Disney had hoped. That's why they take a larger portion of the bundled Spider-Man 2 deals.
Yeah.
The fact that they have $0 invested in making the console, and yet they get a piece of the console sales where that's supposed to be profit for Sony, that tells me that it might be in Sony's best interest to say, you know what, we'll publish it over on this other box over here, and then anything that sells over there, we get 70% to split with Disney. They take probably 30% of that, and then we at least pocket the 40. and all we did was port it. Not
Yeah,
saying porting is, simple or anything, but I think that would be a low hanging fruit kind of thing.
yeah,
But
100%.
we'll see.
Um, Shout out to Web Dave, pushing over 100 something people in here. So shout out to all the people who are new to the Pixelated Echo Kingdom. Shout out to Web Dave and him always bringing some peeps on over here. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. We are very chill. We just talk gaming, all the things. So shout out to you guys for jumping on in. Nate Dogg says 3-bit, all that smoke about Sledgehammer. When do you think we get the next Halo game next gen? Um, Here's the thing. I still don't trust this rumor. I understand. I just need to hear a little bit more. I think, I don't even know where this rumor is coming from. Yeah, I don't know. But let's just say the rumor is true. When do we kind of hear about the next Halo game next gen? I feel like when they start to pick up the announcement of the next Xbox, when they start announcing games for it and stuff, like kind of the lead up to it, is probably when we're gonna hear about the next Halo. Is my guess. Halo has always been that showcase sort of thing for Xbox. I think they would want to bring the nostalgia peeps along for that ride, to be like, hey, we got a new Xbox, and guess what? It has a Halo. I feel like just marketing wise, that makes sense. And the next Xbox is around the corner, so I feel
Yeah.
like they would at least want to start marketing it. I don't know if it'll be ready. The time of release. So I feel like they're just now starting to gear up of what they want to do with the Halo franchise. Start doing some spin-off games. They have to work with the pipeline of Unreal Engine now. That is, it's not easy. Um, cool, you got a brand new engine that a lot of developers start to use. You can start to hire people that are within the Unreal Engine. I mean, I use the Unreal Engine. A lot of people I know use the Unreal Engine. However, that doesn't mean all of a sudden let's go on production. You kind of have to start your pipeline all over in a way of how you're going to make a Halo game feel like a Halo game in the Unreal Engine. There's a couple things that can probably move over. Halo historically has used the Blam engine. Um, like Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Reach all use the same engine. That is all the Blam engine. The physics, I think, from Halo 1 to 2 may have switched, but for the most part, like, same engine, same physics thing for a while. All of a sudden, all those Halos that we know of are using a brand new engine. So that's not going to be easy. There's a lot of things they have to figure out, making sure a Halo game feels like a Halo game. Um, Making sure the multiplayer and stuff is strong. Syncing problems, all the things they have to really figure out. So I mean, good luck to them. Good luck to them. I know a couple people over there, and they for a while would rely on a lot of contract work as well, and I hope that also has gone away. But I'm honestly excited for them to jump into Unreal Engine just because it's new. I'm kind of ready for change dealing with Halo in general. I'm the big, and this is coming from the biggest Halo fan. Like, I love Halo. Um I'm like, Halo has changed my life personally. It's the reason why I'm in the gaming industry. So I have a strong feeling for Halo, but I'm also ready for Halo to. It's such a huge universe. You need to start venturing out. Like, make a Halo horror game, make a third person action Halo game, all the things. But thank you for that question, hey dog. Poison Fuzzy hasn't said anything. And then not follow through to my knowledge though. Decado, yeah, Fuzzy is the boss. Whatever you guys are talking about. Satney says exclusive draws a lot of negativities too from people on other platform who resent the game and want it to fail. So even the
Yeah.
sales on target platform get affected by all the hate. What do you think about that, Fuzz?
I mean, there is some truth to that. Like, it's funny watching some of those on Team Blue that were, trying to downplay what was it, Hi-Fi Rush until it came over there. And then it's like, oh yeah, this is great. And like even one of the reviewers was like, oh, it didn't click with me and
Oh
until it
yeah,
came to his PS5. And it's like, wait, what changed? Not the shadows. Are you saying just the shadow change is what really made it click for you? No, no, it's that. Oh, I guess it's because it's on your preferred platform. But it, I think there are some resentment things. Some of them eventually get toned down or forgotten. Like somebody had made mention of that terrible game that was on PlayStation, Quantum Error or something like that, where they were purposely trying to badmouth Xbox, but yet it didn't do all that great on PlayStation. And if it ever tried to come to Xbox, I don't think people would play it for the crap that they were saying during the whole development process. I mean, it's kind of like what Cliffy B kind of went through with Lawbreakers. Everybody's like, no, you should have brought that over to Xbox. And he was like, hey, I was going after the money. I was going after where I thought the players were.
yeah,
And they didn't really gravitate to it because it wasn't really their type of game. It was more of like what you would expect to see on Xbox. But at that point, it was too late to even try to port it over to Xbox to kind of recoup any of that funding and stuff. But yeah, sometimes exclusivity can hurt a game. I do remember some of the MLB devs were saying that MLB will never come to Xbox. This was before MLB stepped up and was like, "Oh no, we need more money on this thing. It needs to be everywhere so we can get our licensing money." So some people had to eat their words, and it's we'll see how things go. But I like some exclusives. I right now, my mindset is Game Pass is more of the exclusive. You get it day and date with Game Pass Ultimate, like Indiana Jones, perfect example. Everybody wanted to talk about how it was making them motion sick before they found out it was coming to their preferred platform.
like oh, not
And
anymore.
now they're pre-ordering it. But I mean, you have to wait 6 months later to play it. But I'm happy that we get to play it through Game Pass, next month, and we get to find out even more about it, tomorrow on Bethesda's YouTube channel and stuff with their like deeper dive type of deal. But everybody was about to say, "Oh no, this is going to be terrible. It won't top Uncharted, and it looks like it'll be motion sick because it's first person." Oh, but it's coming to PlayStation. I'm pre-ordering it. I can't wait to play. Suck that, Xbox. I got your games. Well, not really. You get it 6 months later. I mean, that's great, but wouldn't it be better to use your already, $5,000 gaming rig PC to stream it through Xbox PC Game Pass or something? I mean, to me, that would tell Xbox to suck it more doing it that way than paying the full 70 through PlayStation. I mean, sure, PlayStation might get 30%, but you're giving 70% of that $70 over to Xbox for more first party investment for more games for Xbox.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, do people even realize what they're saying? Sometimes they'll be like, "Ha! I get to play Hi-Fi Rush on PS5. Like, suck it." I'm like, okay, like, who's actually winning in that scenario? Xbox, 'cause, that they are making the money.
Yeah.
So like, okay, sure. But I would say like the one thing I notice when there is exclusive sort of things, yeah, I feel like it just relieves. It kind of goes into just the console war mentality of my game better, my console better than your console, etc. etc. Like, do you remember the whole debacle with Tomb Raider on the Xbox?
Yeah.
Like, that was actually
And
kind of
Ryan
crazy.
McCafferty. Oh,
Ryan was saying like how bad it was, how their Xbox do these practices of exclusive games, and then Sony, traditionally has a long history of doing this. Like Xbox is like every now and then, but like Sony has been known to do this for almost since their origin.
Mhm.
So when they did it for Final Fantasy, like, oh yeah, this is great for gaming. Gaming's better than ever, and things like that. Like, if you're gonna do that, just at least keep the same energy. Like, if you're gonna think exclusives are bad or whatever, and then you turn around and say like exclusives are good, at least be consistent. Of like, you know, outside of your preferred platform is all I think. But I digress. Nate Dogg, we're gonna get to this next topic and just try to get through all your chats and comments. Appreciate everybody for dropping on in, and you guys are having a lot of great conversations in chat. I try to get through some key ones that I see. So do. The Sousa says they tried to launch Halo with Series X, didn't go well. Tried launch Halo with Series X. Oh yeah, with Halo Infinite. That's true. Well, here's the thing. Halo Infinite was interesting. I was in the delay low camp. Me and Gaz, we were like delay Halo just because I want all the features. Give me everything on the day that I play the game. So I was in that camp. We will see if they do like that's what I'm talking about. Like with the Halo franchise in particular. First off, the standards that Xbox has with their games compared to other franchises like with Sony games is actually kind of crazy when you actually really think about it. Like the fact that a Gears of War game has to come day one with like horde mode, multiplayer, campaign, make sure it could work with co-op and all this different stuff, while the Last of Us can just like their online mode is just missing. They take away the multiplayer and the remake of the first one. Factions is gone. Is actually kind of crazy. Um, that's a whole side topic, but I think with Halo Infinite, um, it had positive reception when it came out. The
Mhm.
problem was, I'm guessing it was the engine. I'm guessing it was also the contractors that were working at 343. The problem was like good game, great, played it, loved it, whatever. Okay, what now? And that's where a lot of developers fail with multiplayer games, because multiplayer games nowadays you just don't finish it. It's supposed to be an experience you can play for hours and hours and feel like you are getting something out of that experience. And Halo Infinite, people started to play it and realize like, hey, this is missing certain things, and I don't like how the armor system is working. Don't like the progression system is was the problem with Halo Infinite. I feel like people kind of forget that. They just kind of vilify Halo because I think Halo has a kind of a toxic fan base, to be honest. Um, they kind of vilify the whole game, but I don't think the problem was the whole game. I think it's all Halos in my eyes are great games. I think it was just the content afterwards that they needed some serious help with. Took way too long to get a lot of that stuff in the game. So it is what it is. So I'll read a couple more and then we get to our last topic and get on out of here. Ray Old says they'll have the coalition every step of the way to help. They will. Something about my time at Microsoft is what was cool about Microsoft. Not confirming any studios or anything that worked with certain studios, but when I was working on Fable, some of the what I really liked about that experience is the communication the studios would have with each other, and how they can essentially improve their own pipeline. Um, so that was one of my favorite things. I worked at Ubisoft as well, and that communication was not the same. I'm just saying, it was not the same pipeline wise. Of like just a day to day basis. That's something they did really well when I worked at Microsoft. All right. So let's get into our final topic. Our final topic is basically just Indiana Jones previews. This is something
Mhm.
Fuzzy you sent to me. So Bethesda kind of posted on their site. They kind of did a hands-on preview roundup of different press and influencers, kind of all around the world, just sitting down to play Indiana Jones, and they all kind of just been posting their thoughts on the game. So I'm just gonna read some of the quotes. Yeah, I don't like IGN, but let's just say what they say. Um,
Mhm.
IGN says absolutely smitten with the look, tone, pacing, and voice acting. Games Radar says made my indie loving heart soar. Tech Radar says it absolutely rocks. Game Rant says a grand adventure. Eurogamer, which I'm very surprised by, says going to be something truly special. Screen Rant says feel like stepping into the movies. So we have like a bunch of reviewers kind of just positively rating the game so far with their
Mhm.
experiences. Kind of talked about this on a previous show, but what I seem to be liking from the previews is their approach to Indiana Jones in general. Um, like I'm glad they didn't go the Uncharted route, in my opinion,
Mhm.
because then it just leads to these toxic comparisons that we were talking about throughout the show, right? Where they're like, you do the lineup of like kind of what when Starfield was first being announced to No Man's Sky, even though
Yeah.
these are pretty different games, different experiences. Um, so I am glad that Indiana Jones has went this route of just kind of adhering to the DNA of that studio. Just really embracing what the studio is good at with Wolfenstein franchise and the Chronicles of Riddick game. If you guys have
Mhm.
played that, there's a lot of Chronicle of Riddick vibes I'm getting, even from this gameplay that's on the screen right now. So yeah, super interested in what they plan on doing with this game. I like the fact that a lot of these studios, a lot of these publishers, I mean, like these publications are saying how much is it's versed in stealth. I just think that's cool. Like, I don't see Indiana Jones. Yes, does he do like cool stunts and stuff? Does he fight a lot of people? Yes, but he's not the type to just go in and start running and gun like that's he's not like an Arnold Schwarzenegger of just trying to bust into a place and just shoot everybody. He's the type to barely survive. That he just happens to be really lucky. He jumps out a window trying to escape. He has a room full of guys that's about to attack him, and then he improvises a lot, right? Like if there's like 10 guys and he doesn't have a gun, he'll be like, oh shoot, what do I have around me? He'll like I don't know, hit a scaffolding to knock it on
Mhm.
everybody, or he'll like kick like a bottle in someone's eye or something. Like he looks at stuff around him, and that's what I have always gotten out of Indiana Jones. So you sent this to me, Fuzz.
Mhm.
A lot of like positive feedback from a lot of gaming journalism
Yeah.
sites. So what are your overall thoughts?
Well, first, even before they made the announcement it's coming to PlayStation, I saw some of the negative reaction as far as, oh, it's only coming to Xbox. Like there was one movie critic that was big into Indiana Jones. He was like, oh, I guess I got to get an Xbox kind of thing, which, it's understandable. That's typically what, if it was a PlayStation exclusive, that's what they would tell you, just pick up a PlayStation kind of thing. But uh, even with it coming to, Team Blue 6 months later, I like the fact that, we're not hearing the nonsense talk about like the motion sickness anymore, being the overwhelming part of the conversation. We're hearing people talk about how much the studio paid attention to the source material. Like being a fan of Indiana Jones, they picked up on all the details that we noticed in the movies, more so the original or the earlier movies, as far as how Harrison Ford's character would act or respond or react in certain situations. And what's his name? Trey, is it Trey Barker that's doing the voice acting for him? Kind of nailed
Troy
it, not just on
Baker.
the
Troy Baker.
Troy Baker. He definitely nailed the sound, and they did some, I guess, motion cap as well for some of the facial reaction, but it's Harrison Ford's face, obviously. Um, they definitely nailed a lot of those small details, and a lot of the situational awareness Indiana Jones would have, like you said, whether it's picking up a bottle or you know you know knocking down scaffolding or ducking and covering behind some of the obstacles and then sneaking up on one of the guards and stuff like that. I think a lot of the stuff that we got to see early on was just like the scratching the surface as far as how detailed this game is, and having a true stealth game. Like, I know a lot of us are still waiting for a like a Splinter Cell game
Yes.
or another Assassin's Creed that's more about assassination in the shadows kind of thing, as opposed to, oh, just stand in front of them and chop them up kind of deal. Stealth games, while sometimes they can be frustrating if they're done wrong, I haven't played Outlaws just yet. I know some people liked the stealth, some people didn't. Um, and then the same thing could be said about like Spider-Man with the Mary Jane visions, which
Oh
I
yeah.
guess they gave her a super gun or something like that for this for part two.
Someone made a joke earlier about Mary Jane. I forgot to read it, but yeah, she's crazy.
No, but like when it comes to stealth games, if done properly, and it looks like this one is, and you don't have to always go loud. If you get caught, you just knock the guy out. You can either grip him up and punch him, which first person melee or hand to hand combat is a difficult thing in games to get right, or at least the feel. And this one looks like it at least addresses some of the animation stuff by, I guess, by the time, like when you grab the character by their shoulder before you punch them in the mouth. I think that gives it a little bit more of a grounded feel, as opposed to just fist flying in front of
Just
your first
constantly
person
spamming.
perspective. But that's part of the biggest things that they've shown to this game, where it's like, I think they've nailed it with the hand-to-hand combat. I think they've nailed it as far as the transition from first person to third person when you're scaling the side of a building or climbing one of the gratings or something like that on the side of the building or whatever. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this, and I guess it's Monday where we get that deeper dive, and we get some of the insight of what the influencers that they flew out to a couple of locations to get the behind the scenes. I guess we get to see some more of that, which I know people will be like, well, they did something similar for Redfall. Redfall was a very unique circumstance where I think more of the focus was on Starfield, and that's why Starfield came out the way it did, being Bethesda's least buggy game ever kind of deal at launch. So not as much attention or focus behind the scenes was put on Redfall at the time, but they did, after patches, get that to a much better state than its launch. But I think this one, they had that same focus like they did for Starfield, but you're already working with Machine Games, which has done an excellent job with the Wolfenstein series. I think the only one where it was like the twin sisters, but I think that game was not as well received because of the microtransaction aspect that
Yeah.
they incorporated into the game, because of the financial stuff of why they needed to be acquired. So that game had its own issues outside of the developer creating those issues. It was more of like demanded by the higher ups to kind of pay some bills kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even that, even some of the concepts as far as the customization was pretty cool. But this game here, we're not hearing anything on microtransactions. We're not hearing anything as far as like it feeling rushed. This feels like they've spent the time watching the films, being fans of the film, and then taking all of that and creating this story that feels like it fits in the whole movie series. And to get some of these news outlets or gaming media outlets that hate on Xbox, whether you believe in Xbox tax or not, it I think it exists, given some of these outlets, the way they rate some of the Xbox games. But I think them knowing that this is a game that they're probably going to play even if it's on their preferred platform 6 months later. I think they couldn't, be dishonest or hide their joy for this game in a way that would try to downplay things. I think everybody is that's at least had hands on with this is generally genuinely excited for this game, just because there hasn't been an Indiana Jones game in a very long time. And yeah, there's no Uncharted, and I'm glad, like you said, that they didn't go that same route, so we don't have those silly comparisons. If you want to have a comparison, go ahead and compare, Uncharted to Tomb Raider and stuff. But this is the grandpa or kind of the
The OG.
father of those to some extent. But then I guess you could say, well, Pitfall was also, but no, Pitfall I think came after Indiana Jones. So, or yeah,
Yeah.
I can't remember. I was very young at that age when Pitfall first came out and the first Indiana Jones came out, and I think maybe Pitfall did come out just before or around that time. But in any event, having a new Indiana Jones game, having, so much detail from the movies without it being an existing movie script just turned into a game, um, is so exciting. And, tomorrow we get to see a deeper dive and get to see what some people like,
It beat
some
it
of
by a
the lucky
year.
ones. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to look that up because I was actually really curious. Pitfall was 1982.
Mhm.
Indiana Jones, the first movie, came out 1981.
Mm.
So
So
just
maybe,
by a year
well, it takes a while for both film and games to come out. So
to
maybe
make. Yeah.
one heard about the other and was like, yeah, we need to make a game about that. Or, hey, we should probably make a movie. In any event, it's wild that those things are like the grandfathers to, Uncharted and Tomb Raider to some extent.
Yeah.
So to see this new version or this latest version of it is going to be awesome. So I can't wait.
Yeah, 100%. And to a lot of people are doing some funny stuff in chat. Starfield Online is coming. Jesse James says that would be awesome. We actually talked about that on Fun Speculation. I think it was Xbox Ultimate. We talked about how cool that would be. I think people underestimate like some of the IPs that Xbox has, like how much money they're making. I think Elder Scrolls makes like what was it, like 500 million every few months, or I forgot what the number is, but just like things
It's
you
like a
don't think
quarter or
about it.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, like a quarter of that. Insane, insane. And the Starfield MMO, like I just beat the DLC. I would love a Starfield MMO. Like it has a lot of potential for sure. Um,
Absolutely.
Andrew Wilkins says
Hey,
Fuzzy knows GT has always been better than Forza. Is that true, Fuzz? Is that true? Is that
eh,
what he's?
I there are things about both games that I like. The main things that I like better about GT is that you can upload your own decals and that you can paint every car in the lineup. Things that I love about Forza over GT is that you have more AI cars, you have more tracks, more real tracks, and I guess in the grand scheme of things, you have more variety of cars and series in racing that actually exist, as opposed to some of those imaginary cars that they have in GT. So there are benefits to both. I'm more of a Forza fan, but there are a few things that I'm waiting for this latest motorsport before I really get back into it, other than the NASCAR, because NASCAR is drawing me back in, which they'll never have in GT because it's not a Japanese preferred sport, even though they do have their own version of NASCAR. And they did have NASCAR visit Suzuka back in the 80s. Um, but I'm more of a Forza fan. But GT has its place as well, and it being the OG, let's say, it has its shine. But they need more cars, they need more series, they need more tracks. Until then, they can't be better than Forza because they're missing too much content, plain
Yeah,
and simple.
I think there's a whole documentary about like the downfall of GT, and like how GT was on the top with like PS1, 2, until Forza just started implementing just different techniques that was kind of behind GT on. Like Forza was just doing just really cool features. that wasn't in Forza was doing cool things that wasn't in GT. There's a whole documentary about that. I recommend you guys check it out. But I think for GT7, I play a little bit of GT7 and a little bit of Forza. That's mostly Fuzzy's world. But for what I've noticed from the two is GT does have pretty good like presentation
Mhm.
of like their cars and but they handle like lighting very differently. I feel like GT is a little bit more subtle in its lighting because they're trying to get you that super realistic feeling, which can make it look muddy sometimes. And Forza is a lot more artistic with its lighting, a little bit more exaggerated.
Mhm.
um so it's like, I guess, preference at that point. I
Yeah.
love the way Forza feels in my hand when I'm driving. Like, it feels
Mhm.
really good. The last time I played it, but I haven't put in the hours that Fuzzy has put in. So like, I would definitely refer to Fuzzy if you
Yeah.
guys are just looking for which one you want to jump into. But
Motorsport, their most recent one, they definitely nailed the handling. The car feels more in tune with the track. The grip and turn, exit and entry feels a little bit better. With GT, you get you get like twitch loose coming out of a turn. Like if you gas it too soon, you can't tell from tire wear which is like it feels like you're gliding more on top of the track, like as if you're on your first couple of laps and you can be doing a 30 lap race. With Forza, you feel after the first two laps, you can feel how the car is getting better grip or the track is rubbering in. And that's one of the things that Forza also does better is the rubbering in feel for the track. Like as time goes on, you're going to get more grip until it gets hotter, and then it's going to get slicker, and you get that feel a little bit more out of Forza, or at least I notice it more. The rain handling, other than the feel in the controller, I think GT does a smidge better, but the feel or the feedback in the controller, or if you're doing a force feedback wheel, I like the feedback better from Forza as far as when you start the hydroplane or you hit a puddle that's from like a low spot on the track or something like that. So, like I said, each one has an area where it shines a bit better, but overall, I'm more of a Forza fan.
yeah, and that ray tracing on track for Forza, I mean, I feel like if any game you start to really dial in on how important is ray tracing, it would be a racing game, I guess. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I like both. I like both, but Forza in general I like better. Just because it's on the I just played it more. Ray Old says it's going to be the direct team for the Indiana Jones game deep dive tomorrow. I did forget about that. Yeah, so there's two things to look forward to tomorrow. There's the Nintendo kind of direct. It's not really super game focused. That one I announced earlier in the show, and then you got the Indiana Jones deep dive, which I guess is tomorrow. So awesome. Definitely go check that out. I'm definitely gonna check it out as well. Let's see. Be nice says Snake Eater. Is Are they also doing something like any deep dive for Snake Eater, or is he just saying? Let me see.
I don't know if they are. I know that there should be something soon coming up as far as like either an updated trailer or something like that. So that game is not too far from release. I think early next year or something like that. I don't think it comes out this year, but I could be
Okay.
wrong.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that game. Like, honestly, if you guys need to know anything about me, it's I'm a huge Hideo Kojima fan in general. I will defend the man. I think he has such great talent. And he kind of reminds me of, like, you think about the pioneers of gaming in general, of like how they took the genre and kind of defined it a little bit. He is definitely one of those peeps, and he's still around and kicking and doing some awesome games. So looking forward to how they're reimagining Snake Eater. It's weird that Konami is doing something good, I guess. So looking forward to how, because I mean, listen, after they pretty much let Hideo Go. They basically been a pachinko casino company for a while. They've they made Metal Gear a zombie game. They just made trash pretty much right after he left. So finally they put some effort into it, even though it's not a franchise they even really made it with Hideo's baby. But very cool that I've been Metal Gear 3 is one of my favorites. So definitely looking forward to playing that. Pitfall is awesome. Yes, yes. Sutton is finally a man of culture. I've heard rumors South of Midnight will be on Switch too. From Jesse James. I have not heard those rumors, but I don't even know what to think about that rumor. Let me process that. Jesse James says, "Should I buy RoboCop or Death Stranding?" Um, Honestly, so I've beat RoboCop and I've played Death Stranding. If you like, yeah, well, Fuzzy just said, if you want action, RoboCop just it feels good. Like if you're when you're shooting somebody, you're headshotting them, and their head explodes and there's blood and stuff. It feels really good. Death Stranding is like for that experience where you're just like, let me sit back, listen to like calm music as you walk through these beautiful valleys and rivers, and you're trying to not fall with all this stuff on your back. Like it's not for everybody, but if you can get into that mindset where you can kind of just vibe, Death Stranding. But if you just want to shoot stuff and make things go boom, RoboCop. Konami had an awesome year for me, rooting for a comeback. What else have they done? I I only can think of Metal Gear, but I guess they have maybe did some other stuff I'm not aware of. Um, Poison said something earlier. It did make me think about like the Halo fan base and how they're kind of holding back Halo. I've talked about that for a while. 100%. I think Poison was the one that said that. They are definitely holding back the Halo franchise. Be Nice says, I like Redfall, but I think they screwed up by releasing the way it was. And also, they didn't have open lobby. They should have had it where anyone can hop in, have a lot of ideas about Redfall. Yeah, yeah. I was really disappointed by Redfall because I want more vampire games. There's not a lot out there. I think it's such a cool genre. I love zombie games too. Zombie games, vampires, all the things. Um, yeah, I did not like Redfall at all. I know some people like they played it and like after the patch they were happy and stuff. Me and Mav tried to jump in and play it. Like it just feels not good to me. It's just to me personally. Like I couldn't do it. Like the open world kind of aspects, it just feels empty. So and I hate that feeling where um you have like this huge world, but like it feels like not a lot to do in it. So it's like why I have the open world kind of thing. It I had a lot of that feeling with Redfall, but
I think
uh,
some of the latest patches helped it a little bit, but I still think the timing of them working on that at Bethesda at the same time as Starfield was the problem
mm,
because everybody, it was like all hands on deck for Starfield, and they were kind of left to kind of fend for self.
yep,
Um, Not knocking Pete Hines because he was a great guy over at Bethesda for years, but I don't think he looked after the team that was working on Redfall as much, primarily because the importance was for Starfield, getting that across the line. So I'm not saying he's to blame, but he eventually was the one that was let go or retired. Um, but I think if Redfall had been a game that didn't have or wasn't during a busy cycle for Bethesda, like in between, let's say Starfield and Elder Scrolls, it would have probably been better off. But then again, then that may have taken away from Indiana Jones. So it's like that game. I won't say it was always doomed, but it was always seen as like the second fiddle amongst the walls over there, or at least that's how it came across. But
yep.
I don't know. Maybe the modding community can eventually inspire them to look at it again. Um, looking at games like State of Decay 2 recently, where they just did update 38 before they start moving on to State of Decay 3. I think there's plenty of potential even still with Redfall. It's just a matter of the team that was working on it is no more. So they've
Yeah.
either been, you know, moved over to other parts of Bethesda stuff or moved on to other places, other publishers and studios and such. But
Yeah. 100%.
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Read a couple of these, and then we are gonna head on out of here. Jesse James says Compulsion is a smaller studio that can use the help of extra sales on Switch 2. Plus, why is Microsoft showing South of Midnight on Tuesday instead of the developer direct? Oh, is that why people are kind of connecting the fact that Nintendo Direct is tomorrow? And yeah, because I haven't heard any rumor of that. Switch 2. Yeah, because I was going to say, I was about to say, at first I thought you just meant the first Switch. And I'm like, a lot of games can't run on the Switch like properly. But a Switch 2, maybe, maybe.
Well,
I wouldn't say no, but yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to say with talks of Call of Duty coming to Switch 2, anything is possible. That's why I hope we get to see this Xbox handheld sooner rather than later. Because if the Switch 2 becomes that third party box as well, then the Xbox handheld will only be truly for Xbox fans as opposed to anybody that wants to do gaming on the go. Like I think Nintendo's main lane is their first party stuff, with occasionally getting some of the bigger, games that they've missed out on, like more recently with the Switch, like Call of Duty. But if Xbox can do a handheld that has all of their first party games plus a lot of the third party games, like your Grand Theft Auto 6 kind of deal, then that will help them move a lot of those units. I think they're going to move a lot anyway, or a lot in comparison to something like a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally, but I don't think they're going to touch Switch numbers, or at least Switch One numbers. But it would be nice if they could. But we'll see. I'm definitely pre-ordering one when it comes out, if as long as it plays PC and console games natively. They
Yeah,
got my money day one.
yeah, and I think with the next Xbox being rumored to be a handheld device, which we talked about for a while on PTK show yesterday, I think it would start to make sense to start to relate your Xbox pipeline of however you're developing handheld games to the Switch as well. Like if it's like a handheld type experience and you're building the game for software for a handheld, I guess like, oh, why not put it on the Switch? It's already, kind of building it for a handheld. So I don't know. It could happen. I'm not at this point. I wouldn't put Microsoft. I wouldn't put it past them to put games anywhere, like anywhere. Like you could put it on the Switch. You could put it on PS5. Put it on a toaster. Like I I'm not in the denier camp of like Halo will never go to Sony. You will never hear me say that at this point. It's really right now. I just question like when and what their current strategy is, if they want to increase the numbers of Game Pass, if they want people to become more so a part of the ecosystem. What is the best way of doing that, of reaching that 2-3 billion gamers that Phil says he wants to reach? What is the best ways of doing that? And does that include exclusive games to some degree? Does it not? That's like up for them to decide at this point. I still think exclusives do have some power with like bringing people into your ecosystem, but at the end of the generation right now, I feel like the industry is moving in a different direction overall. Like it's going to become no more console war stuff. I feel like it's just ecosystem wars at this point. Like if I have a Xbox device, it's not just about the console, it's about how can I play this on my Xbox Go system. I can play this on my PC, my Series X. I could play this on my phone with like Android, because now they're trying to introduce the Xbox Store on Androids in a different way now, where you'll be able to play it. They just did this huge lawsuit with Google, so you'll just start to see that becoming a thing. Eventually, Apple will have to cave in. Apple's so stubborn, so give it like a year or so. So yeah, now it's just the ecosystem wars at this point. It's like, I love consoles, so that's where I'll be. But no more console wars, is ecosystem wars. Going forward. Let's go. Um One more. Decima Engine game Death Stranding on Xbox Series consoles. I expect to see Horizon Zero Dawn and Until Dawn next on the Xbox. Yeah,
Would be interesting.
that would be interesting, because those are, well, Horizon needs some time. Because Sony's being really weird about that IP. They're being super
Yeah.
protective. So that'll be some time. But Until Dawn, I don't know what the rights are on that franchise.
I'm kind of
Um,
surprised it hasn't come over yet. Like, because if it wasn't for the remaster, I think it was up for going multi-plat, and I think the remaster is what renewed their exclusive rights or something. So I think Sony did that remaster just so, because they were pissed at that developer for doing something else for Xbox, I think.
oh yeah, that
There was some bad blood, and it's almost like they purposely are like, oh no, this won't go multi-plat. We're going to renew it by doing it, making you guys do a remaster. There was some weird stuff that Sony was doing behind the scenes, but as far as Horizon coming to Xbox, the Horizon game I see coming to Xbox is that multiplayer game that we saw snippets of where it had a Fortnite look, but I don't know if that's still in development or not. I know it was a games as a service. It wasn't the games as a service I was hoping it would be. I was hoping it would be more like a Monster Hunter, with the
mm,
realistic graphics of, or the hyper realistic graphics of the actual Horizon games,
yeah,
but do like a Monster Hunter version where you're hunting the Dinobots basically. Um, but they're going for this Fortnite look of something similar, but not Monster Hunter like. I don't know. We'll see how it does. Hopefully, the Lego game does well on the Switch. I have a feeling it'll sell more copies on the Switch than on the PS5, but we'll see how that goes. But it is weird that they didn't bother to put it on Xbox, but they might regret that unless Nintendo makes them forget all about it.
yeah,
But like I said, I think Nintendo might be good for 2 million copies, and the PS5 will be good for 500,000.
yeah. I think, again, these companies over time will start to realize that quick money up front is not really worth it if you're trying to expand your audience. It's going forward. We've seen a lot of the big third party publishers do this already. Bandai, Sega, Square Enix, etc., etc. I think that more are going to follow suit. But it depends on how big these companies are. Because if you're a smaller company, that money is a lot more appealing than like a Sega. So, well, we will definitely see. But I could see Until Dawn. But Horizon is a little weird. All right. So I'll read one more. Freddie Wayne says Game Pass was a Trojan horse to the end game Xbox everywhere. Yep. We talk about that all the time. Xbox is doing a lot of Trojan horse moves, where the top play games on Sony are Xbox titles, first party games, right? So that's where we are now. All right, yo. What a great show. I came into this being like, there's a couple things to talk about. And here we are, 2 hours, 10 minutes into the show, where you guys are just awesome. Like, we really like, me and Fuzzy talked about it behind the scenes. Like, we really like reading your guys' comments, because you guys have such good conversations in the chat. So I always try to have at least a section of our channel, our episodes, where let's just talk to you guys. It's as if we're on the stage and we're just like communicating with you guys. because you guys are awesome, and we like to read what you guys are saying on the show. Let's just have a conversation about what we're talking about. So appreciate everybody for dropping on in. Web Dave also, again, thanks every single Sunday. I think he tries to send people on over. Means a lot. Means a lot. So be sure you guys hit the subscribe button. We are trying to hit a milestone of 500 subs.
Yeah.
So we get fancy emojis. I just want to do a lot of fancy emojis. Not there yet, but this is season 1. So when we get to season 2, what do you guys want us to do in the intro of the show? You see me on top of a car, kind of slaying some zombies. Fuzzy is driving recklessly. He's knocking over all these zombies while shooting out the car. Don't know how he's doing it with one hand, but hey, like impressive. So start pitching. Let's figure out what we should do for season 2. And thank you guys for dropping on it. So Fuzzy, please tell people where they can find you, and yeah, send us on out, brother.
Well, as always, love doing this on Sundays with you, man. Always love talking about games and just this more of like a chill, space where we get to talk about what we enjoy, what we've been playing, and interact with everybody in the chat. Love your guys' takes on things. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch us, and thank you, Web Dave, for sending folks over. Greatly appreciate it, man. And for those that are new here, if you haven't already, please give us a subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. If not, leave a comment. Let us know what we could do to improve, kind of thing. We always love hearing feedback. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Blue Sky as well. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. I think I'm also on Instagram and Threads. Not as active as I probably should be, but I'm pretty much everywhere. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere and you'll find me. And you can also find me on other podcasts like Xbox Lunch Break Special on Monday, 12 noon on Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick XL, as well as I Love Coffee. And we'll get into some new topics. And I think we're going to be dissecting the Indiana Jones extended play, because I think that's just before our show at noon. And then later that night, FSP on Fun Speculations channel should have 3-Bit, myself, Mav, as well as either Jasper or Psychonauts possibly on the panel. Definitely check us out. Get to talk about the games coming up this week and everything. And look forward to hopefully seeing everybody right back here next Sunday, same time, same place. Love to see you guys there. Thanks again. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. Make sure you guys follow us on that. We do a couple shows together. So if you like the vibes of Pixelated Echoes, me and Fuzzy are doing another show tomorrow on FSP. So over on Fun Speculation. But yeah, tune in every Sunday. 8:30 is usually the time, and yeah, appreciate everyone for coming on by. There's a couple of new faces I've seen. You guys are super engaging. Freddie Wayne, thanks for subscribing, brother. Matthew -0, I see y'all. You guys could follow me on Blue Sky. I'm moving off of the Twitter space, but I'll again maybe just you'll see like links to this show or something like that. So you'll see me over on Blue Sky, and that is where I'll be. If you guys like the show or not, let us know in the comment section down below. Let us know what we were wrong about. I say this on every show. I'm like, hey, 3-Bit and Fuzzy, you guys were wrong. At 1 hour and 3 seconds, you said that this was this date, and it was actually this date. Just let us know. Let us know what we were wrong about, and let's have a conversation about it. Try to keep it open, and try to keep it conversational. That's what I try to do with each one of these episodes. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Pixelated Echoes. Bye, y'all.